Welcome back. That was a welcome back for me as well. I have not broken out this mic and talked in front of a microphone and camera in probably about 2-ish months. And so I felt moved to show my face. I am definitely a processor with words, but also verbally. So, a lot of changes, a lot of positive changes. I'm seeing my Substack is growing. My intention was never really to be obsessed with metrics. It was more about getting my message out there, like really using my throat chakra, really putting out what I'm feeling because I know we're all human. We're all human. We all feel, we all um, want to feel seen and heard. And so I started this Substack in January with no real intention besides that. And so it feels that the alignment with the people that are finding my content, resonating with it, um, it feels like it fulfills kind of the foundation of why I wanted to start this page. So, one of the things that I have been talking about this week, and I have a few other posts that I will be putting out there, is really focused on the idea of a relationship alignment framework. And so I was having some conversations, reflecting, journaling, and realizing that, sometimes we tend to give an expectation for something that isn't the reality. Sometimes we give a job to something that the job description is actually completely misaligned with what that purpose is for. So, take the analogy of an employee versus employer. So, the boss says, I need you to do this job description between these hours, you get paid this salary. Well, that employee might do that job, but then they might be feeling like, I want weekly check-ins, I want, validation, I want the best projects, whatever it is. And then that manager, supervisor, boss is like, yeah, boom, boom, boom is really all this relationship is. But that employee is seeking more from the employer, and it turns into this resentment, it turns into frustration, anger, whatever it is, when really it's all about misalignment and miscommunication, and there's zero clarity. And so typically we tend to keep everything inside and assume that everyone's a mind reader. And I think it really stems from our childhood. If we felt that our voice was silenced, well, then even as an adult, we're not going to speak up. We're just going to keep it in, and it's going to come out in anger or, digging your heels in. I'm not going to go to that meeting, or I'm coming late, or whatever it is, rather than actually speaking out and talking about your needs. And so I've been reflecting on this in so many different capacities. And what really brought this framework to mind was me realizing I have a business, I have an educational therapy business and a candle business. And then I have my business accounts and my personal accounts. And I've always struggled with money. And I thought it was a lack of a budget. I thought it was there wasn't enough income, as an entrepreneur. The debt to income ratio was too high. I didn't understand money management, so I was spending more than what maybe I should have. No, it really boils down to stability and the relationship I have with money, bank accounts, how it's used. And I was putting too much emotion into that and hoping I could get 50 jobs out of really one job. And so it really brought to view, like a sharper view of like, what is the issue here? And it's really a relationship alignment. So I want to walk you through this. And I journal a lot, and I use ChatGPT to kind of synthesize my framework in a visual. And so this will be posted on my Substack later, I think next week. But I wanted to talk about this. So the first question is, what am I in a relationship with? So we want to name that. So is it stability that's masked as something else? Is it comfort? What is that relationship that we are in? Name it. What job have I assigned this relationship. So identify those expectations, because sometimes our expectations and reality, it's not aligned, and it's like trying to squeeze water out of a rock. That's never going to happen. So why are we constantly banging our head against something, not getting what we're looking for? And then we want to ask the question, is this actually its job? Okay, so check the true function of that job. And the next one is, has this expected I'm sorry, has this expectation been communicated? That's a tough one for some people. But you're just supposed to know. I get in this argument with my husband all the time. I expect him to be a mind reader. I get frustrated. He gets frustrated. We're just going this way. And then when we realized, oh, I wasn't clear, I thought you knew this because of history, or you usually say this, so I thought you meant that, then it turns into this. And then it turns into arguments, resentment, all of that. So get clear on those expectations. So we want to share, align, and clarify. And then if nothing has changed, would I still expect this? So we're accepting the reality and what that looks like. So I want to talk a little bit about what this looks like in real time. So what am I in a relationship with? So name the relationship, not I'm stressed. That is the go-to response. I've been there before. It doesn't get us anywhere. Maybe it's instead, I'm in a relationship with money, a relationship with my mother, with my calendar, my business, whatever it is, you want to name that emotion. What job have I assigned it? So this is the hidden expectation. This is where that lives. So with money, maybe it keeps me safe. It tells me I'm successful. Maybe it eliminates uncertainty. But the job that we're assigning is, it makes me happy. It validates my purpose. It validates my worth. So we want to get really clear on what is that job that we are putting on this thing, and then actually weigh that with the reality. So is that actually its job? So we want to ask these pieces. Is this something this relationship was designed to provide? Um, you know, for example, with the manager, the supervisor one. So managers are supposed to communicate expectations. Partners should demonstrate care and respect. So we want to ask those questions to get a sense of, is my reality and perception totally skewed? Has this expectation been communicated? As I said, so this one's huge, and this is where a lot of us fail. And it could be because we feel like our thoughts aren't validated, no one will care, no one wants to hear what we have to say. But it's really not about the external, it's about the internal. So if we can say to ourselves, you know what, that's not going to work for me, and leave it at that, respectfully, that actually is big for us to do that. I had a situation this past Saturday at my daughter's swim meet where there were two women that were coming at me, my husband, and my other mom friend. And they were very stressed, clearly looking for timers. And they assumed that we were going to be timing. And we said, no, we weren't comfortable. They didn't like that. They kept pushing, they kept pushing, they kept pushing. And the initial response from some people was, oh, I'm really sorry. I don't know. Or they cave in. And I just stood 10 toes down and I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not comfortable. And this one particular woman kept pushing. She was very aggressive. And then she ended up telling us how she was tired and grumpy. And I'm thinking, like, that's not my problem. You need to regulate yourself. You don't need to bully people into doing something and then guilt tripping them, telling them that the meet's going to take longer because we aren't willing to time. And so I listened, I observed, and I said to her, have you asked anybody else? And she said, no. So eventually they left us alone. The other woman that was with her came back and apologized. And, so I, I stated what I was feeling and thinking. I wasn't going to keep that in. And she didn't like it. And that's okay. But it's really about us, our internal, how we feel, to be able to vocalize our needs. And then if all of that is happening and we're processing this and nothing changes, would I still expect this? So this is the acceptance question. Imagine nothing changes, not next week, not next year. Would we still keep this the same? Is it working for us? And I think those are the things we really need to think about when we are feeling misalignment. And I think more than often, we don't, if you are not in a regulated state, your immediate thought is to blame, not to stop, observe, and get curious. It's to say, well, it's their fault. And I'm real pissed that they're doing this. he's supposed to be doing that. And I've been there before with several bosses, several principals. I worked under many principals in various schools, and everything was always their fault. But it's a dynamic, it's a relationship. There are two people in it. So, what does that look like? And am I getting clear on maybe what I'm bringing to the table? So, I just wanted to pop on, talk about this very quickly. Um, I will have an article out about this next week, and I have my 4 A's, which I'll end with: awareness, alignment, agreement, and action. So I hope you found this helpful. And thank you so much for supporting my Substack. So I will see you when I see you.